Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Moeller here. How's everybody getting along at Meteor Mark's Weather Northeastern here? Let's take a look. We got a big snowstorm, a fairly large one for this time of year, moving into the Northeast. And what is going to be forming behind this? A massive, monstrous lake effect snow outbreak. How big is this going to be? How much snow will fall with the synoptic system as it becomes coastal? And what will we be looking at lake effect? And just how long will this troughiness across the east last? Take a look at that. It lifts out just in time, just before Thanksgiving, but immediately replaced by a massive trough that could form the potential for an East Coast snowstorm just after Thanksgiving. We'll break down all the details of that. Take a look at your tropics. And if you haven't watched my winter outlook for 2022-2023, it is in a link in the description down below. Let's get into it. All right, so let's take a look at your future radar here. This snowstorm in the Northeast that's underway. Yeah, this is going to be overnight, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Now, you see how quickly this rain-snow line moves north of the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area. We're still snow by midnight here into parts of the northern Catskills, Poconos, Hudson Valley, and into parts of the southern tier of New York. Even western New York here. Look at snow's breaking out here across parts of New England and central New England as well. Now, as we head in time here, let's see what this holds for the Northeast. We're going to see this big storm pull to the northeast off the coast, but look how quickly. Let me back that up and then moved 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., higher elevations into the Catskills and Poconos here. We could still hold on to some ice accumulations here around the hills of Wilkes-Barre-Scranton and just southwest of Albany here. Now, by this time, we'll see the rain-snow line move almost as far north as the New York State Thruway here by 3 a.m., and you start to see the precipitation. We're going to have a dry slot forming into central Pennsylvania, and that's going to quickly pull the precipitation northeastward here. So the I-81 corridor on eastward here by 8 a.m. is where most of the precipitation will be. You can see we're going to see this fetch continuing to pull to the north here, and it's going to keep you in the cold air up here into parts of New England where snowfall rates will be up to 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch an hour at times. So we'll pile up the snow pretty fast, but look what's forming just behind this. This is that lake effect snow outbreak. This is by 11 a.m. Look what starts to form off of Lake Erie here. Really big snowfall plume starts to form. This is Erie, Pennsylvania, northeast of Cleveland. This is by 3 p.m. Now look at northern New England. We're even switching over to some rain here into central part of Maine. And then in northern Maine here, this is where we got the heavy snow continuing. But the big story is going to be behind this system. Look at this. Yeah, we have some instability here in the higher terrain where that's where we're getting some cellular snowfall bands breaking out here. But look at what's coming off Lake Erie here. There's going to be snowfall rates, especially where you see some of these darker blue and white colors. Look it up towards Oswego by 7 p.m. Wednesday. Yeah, you could be seeing snowfall rates just inland here, 3 to 4 inches an hour, right along the lake near SUNY Oswego campus. You'll stay mostly rain or rain and snow mix because you still got this warm air from the lake. So this will remain rain just along the immediate lake shores. But look what's intensifying here on Lake Erie. This is some heavy snow, heavy wet snow, even into Jamestown, Salamanca, Wellsville, Corning. Look how far east this pulls. You could see some heavy snow as far east as the Binghamton and Oneonta area by 7 p.m. Wednesday. This is something we definitely got to keep an eye on. Now, what about Cleveland here? What about Cleveland? Well, we got some snow for you as well. Look at this. Heavy lake effect band starts to pull into your area midnight Wednesday night heading into Thursday morning. Look at this. So this Lake Erie band that stretches all the way up to the southern suburbs of Buffalo. Look what starts to form in Cleveland here. A big old snow band. And we might see some bursts of heavier snow during the real early morning hours just after midnight here in Cleveland and the suburbs to the northeast. Now, let's take a look, see what's happening. We got some instability problems up here east of Lake Ontario. You see this initial shot as we get this next trough that's pulling into the area. That's going to disrupt our Lake Ontario band initially. So as we get this trough moving through, watch what happens. We see an explosion of snowfall. Now, you start to see the bands form more northwest, southeast by this time, behind this next trough, this frontal boundary, and look what starts to happen. We start to get snowfall rates really breaking out here north of Syracuse, right southeast of Erie and Buffalo areas. Look at this, and we start to see what could be Lake Huron here, Georgian Bay connections. Look at this. This is 5 a.m. Thursday morning. We could be looking at snowfall rates well up above 2, 3, maybe 4 inches an hour. And look at this as we head throughout the day on Thursday. Those bands continue. They do start to weaken here by Thursday afternoon, though, as we start to get an area of high pressure building in from the southwest. So as we get into snowfall amounts here, let's start off with the GFS. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. So let's just take the initial storm without the lake effect. So this will include some lake effect, but this is snow that's mostly fallen already across central Pennsylvania. Some of it still has time to fall. But look at this here into parts of upstate New York, parts of New England. Yeah, we could see areas that could approach warning criteria snowfall here. This is approaching 6 inches. But most areas in these bluer areas, you'll see 1, 2, maybe 3 inches, especially above 1,200 feet. That's where you'll see 3, 4, maybe 5 inches. Now look at the lake effect pile up behind that. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Yeah, this is where we could see 24, the 17 inches, Erie, Pennsylvania, 24 around Buffalo, 27 near Watertown. This is getting into crazy amounts here. This is exactly what I wanted to show you with regards to our lake effect event. So let's take a look at the HRRR model. Our good old mesoscale models are really good this close up. So yeah, let's just back that up a second. This is our synoptic scale. We're just going to get some lake effect in there. But look at this. Yeah, this is a solid 5, 6, 7, 8 inches here in the purple. And then central Pennsylvania totals approaching 4, 5, 6 inches. And then right around there it is Binghamton up to Albany, 3, 4 inches. Yeah, so this is a pretty decent snow for this time of year, but watch behind it. Look at this lake effect pile up. This is where you're starting to get in 16, 20, 24, 28 inches right around northeast of Cleveland, Erie, Pennsylvania, Oswego County, just north of Syracuse. So taking a look at the Euro here, initially, it's looking pretty similar to the GFS. There's those nearing warning criteria almost here in northern New England, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. Maybe up to 10 to 12 there in northern Maine. Look at there, central Pennsylvania, 3, 4, maybe 5 inches above 1,200 feet. That's pretty decent. The Catskills, Poconos, it'll vary depending on elevation. 1 to 2 inches valley, maybe up to 3 inches here. Into the lower Hudson Valley, 1 to 2 inches. So yeah, the cutoff is right around northwest New Jersey there. You can see it. But yeah, it's looking pretty interesting here. It's a pretty good snowstorm for this time of year. But watch us go into time here. Look at this. Look at the lake effect pile up. There it is. So yeah, this takes us through Saturday. You can see off of Lake Erie, some of these totals could get on the order of 24, 28 inches. And then out towards Watertown, just north of Oswego County, up towards the Tug Hill, we could see snow in the feet here. This is looking pretty interesting. All right, so I want to start off with the Euro quick, the surface map here as we go. There's that storm pulling off to the northeast. You can see a pretty good-sized storm here for this time of year. Still more weaker here, especially on the Euro, but look at that. Snowfall rates here into northern New England early Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon as it pulls to the north, and the Euro is pretty much on board here with this heavy lake effect snow bands off Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Now, as we head in time here, what's going to be the pattern? Well, as you see, things get really quiet for a little bit, except down here in the Gulf of Mexico. That's what I was showing you on the GFS. Could we see some sort of tropical development? It's possible. Even this time of year, definitely something we want to keep our eyes on. But look what starts, over the weekend. That trough really starts to kick, and you do have to watch entities like this. We might have some sort of a spin up here off the U.S. East Coast. Now, this shows it's pretty well out to sea. The energy doesn't phase. And by the time it does start to phase, it's well east into the Canadian Maritimes. You can see it over there towards Nova Scotia. But look at this area of high pressure. This is a big old cold high. As we go through Thanksgiving week here, pretty quiet. Good for Thanksgiving travel. But it's just after Thanksgiving. We're going to have to watch this storm. And let me just briefly show you it on the GFS here. All right, so if we take a look at the GFS, there's our system pulling off to the northeast. Lake effect kicking in behind it. So we head into the weekend. Do we see? Yes, we do. Look at this. There's our system to the north. There's energy sitting off the coastline here. What happens here? Do these phase together? Well, it's possible. We'll see. This is the GFS kicking it much further east quicker because this area of high pressure builds in much quicker here on the GFS than it does on the Euro. But look at that. It pulls east into the Canadian Maritimes without really producing any snowflakes for us. But look at this. We go through Thanksgiving week. Let's kick it. Here's our two entities here. One in the Great Lakes, one along the southeast coast. Will these two come together? Look at this big old omega high up here. Big blasting 1036 millibar high. As we go in time here, look at this. Yeah, I think something's probably likely to come together here after Thanksgiving. Initially, you get this warm air shot here from the Ohio Valley up the Appalachians. So initially it starts as rain here in eastern Pennsylvania. Look at this low, though. This coastal low starting to take over. Big old blocking high remains in place here. New England, could this be the storm for you? It's quite possible. Look at that, turning to snow in eastern New York. 997 millibars along the coast. And look at that, we kick it up along the coast. Let's back, 974 millibars. Look at that, 989. We go just before that. So this could be a pretty big storm. There's our weakening storm. Look at this. We could be seeing an area of very, very heavy snow up here into the northeast. And look at that. There it is, 974 millibars here. As we get up into eastern New England here, look at that, 975. So we could set up a really big lake effect event behind this as well. And there's probably some area, you can see some trough behind this that helps enhance snowfall behind these low pressure systems. So this could be quite interesting. And look how that lingers into Sunday, November 27th here. So this is a system we really need to keep our eyes on as we go towards Thanksgiving. So let's take a look at the overall trough pattern here. Here is the good old GFS. That trough kicks to the east here. It's still a big one here for the weekend. So great weekend to hibernate here in the northeast. Your coldest area of the season will be pummeling right overhead of you. There we go. So that pulls out to the northeast next week. Look at just before Thanksgiving. A little warming trend takes place, but look what is forming on the east side of this massive mega trough out west. This big piece of energy will start to dig in behind this weak ridge, and it will really take over by the day after Thanksgiving. Could we have an East Coast snowstorm just the day after Thanksgiving into the Thanksgiving weekend, post-weekend here? We just might. Look at that. That looks pretty impressive. Definitely something we'll keep an eye on here. I haven't forgot about you in the tropics. I know all my Caribbean viewers here. You want to see this, and I will show you all of this. The tropics, they might not just be over with just yet. Let's take a look here. So we'll take a look at the GFS here, get a big picture view of this whole thing. It's really, really quiet right now. But you know how that always goes. Look what's waiting out here. An intertropical convergence zone that is still very much above normal for this time of year. But you do notice one thing. The wind shear right now is really saving you because these storms, they try to move to the east and you see how they get sheared off towards the northeast and they get pummeled by all this upper level wind shear. And look at that. It really scours this out. It just rips these apart and it's literally retreating back here to the east. Now look what's happening here into the Western Gulf. This is by Saturday, November 19th. We have some interesting systems here to watch. This is pretty interesting. And as we go in time here, we could see any one of these potentially form into something. This is crazy to think about this time of year that we're actually talking about this. Not as interested out here. There is some pretty big waves, but look at this. Yeah, this is actually pretty interesting here. You got 1, 2, 3. And even if these don't develop into anything, you could actually see some pretty heavy rains out of them. But I think one of these could potentially develop. This is Sunday, November 20th. The one I think that has the best chance to develop, of course, is the one that's moving into, at this point, it looks like the Nicaragua area. That could change, but we'll see. And look at, this is the tail end of this frontal boundary here. You always have to watch this time of year as well. And as we head in time here, we'll definitely see this storm ramp up. Yeah, it's amazing that we're actually dealing with this time of year, but we could actually have a potentially named storm out of this. We'll watch it here, as we always do. Will it come up and affect places like Jamaica, Hispaniola, Cuba, Puerto Rico. Right now, it doesn't look like it, but watch this. As this front drops down from the north, will it pick it up and move it northeast? Well, let's take a look. Let's see what the GFS does over the next, say, week or so. Tuesday, November 22nd. So let's back that up. It kind of gets absorbed into the front. Now, you kind of see the front kind of undulating and moving back and forth here across the eastern Gulf. It might try to come back north here and either combine forces with this front. You can see how it's on the move towards the northern Gulf, or just a very strung out area of low pressure. But this is something we have to watch. Look at this. We might have a tropical system in the Gulf just before Thanksgiving. This is even crazier to even think about here. So as we move in time here, we'll watch it here. Maybe the Florida Panhandle. Anywhere in the Gulf, please watch. Caribbean, look what's coming here for Wednesday, November 23rd. It kind of gets a lot of wind shear, but, as we head in time here, there's a big storm. There's that big storm I was potentially worried about here. This is just after Thanksgiving. We might have a nor'easter here in the Northeast. We have so much to talk about in the world of weather here. So this could be something definitely to talk about here. So please stay tuned for all this. This could be rather interesting. It's a bit far out on the models. That's the day after Thanksgiving. And look what we have the day after Thanksgiving in the western Gulf of Mexico. A big old blob of convection. You guessed it. And look at this. We have more problems out here east of the Lesser Antilles. This tropical season definitely just doesn't want to die. And as we go in time, let's see if we go further out. It looks a bit quieter, but look at this. We're still dealing with problems here. What could be by Tuesday, November 29th in the Western Caribbean here. All right, so we head to the Western Pacific. Let's see what we got for you, particularly around the Philippines here, Vietnam, all the way up to Taiwan. This is your season. This is late season. And, of course, as we head in time here, we have that tropical wave potential here just southeast of the Philippines. This will be getting in on the act. Southern Philippines, heavy rain, gusty winds. So definitely watch out for this as we head in time. Let's see if there's any potential for tropical storm development or typhoons. Yeah, look at this. This is Thursday, the 17th into Friday. You see, it pretty much remains pretty strung out here. You got this area, so either side of the Philippines. But the good news is neither of these seem like they're developing any time, really fast. And they're not. They're developing really slow, and it's very disorganized. Now, this is where we could start to see some sort of development just east of Vietnam. This is by Saturday, this coming Saturday, November 19th. You can see we might have the potential here for a tropical system just east of Vietnam here. And this could actually be dragging a lot of tropical moisture up through the Philippines this weekend. So if you have any plans, it's definitely looking like your rainy season here. Definitely really tropical, that's for sure. Look at that landfall potential there in Vietnam, but look what we got in the northern Philippines here. We have our next system. It looks pretty disorganized, but it will bring a lot of heavy rain and gusty winds to the northern Philippines, especially north of Manila there. And look at that. That starts to form into something. We might have a tropical storm by next Monday, November 21st. So yeah, please stay tuned here. We might actually have a system just east of Japan as well. That's crazy to even think about, but yeah, tropical season really never fully dies out here in the Western Pacific. And look at this. This is really lighting up here. I mean, this is not great news for a lot of people out here, but look at this. We got another system southeast of the Philippines here. Let's see what happens with these systems here. So as we go further out in time, neither one of these looks like typhoon material, and that's the good news. You can see the Philippines clear out by Wednesday, November 23rd, and look at this. The northern part of Vietnam, we might see some heavier showers and thunderstorms, but you know what? None of these look like they're going to be any major trouble here. And look at that. As we head in time, this is towards the last part of November. Look how quickly it clears out here. A lot of dry air. And this might signal a time. Well, we do have a tropical wave moving through. This is Wednesday, November 30th. But it doesn't look like anything major. So let's take a look at our 6 to 10 day outlook for temperature-wise here. Look at this. Yeah, well below average. We're going into Thanksgiving holiday. Well below average here in parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. But as we head towards after Thanksgiving, We'll still be cooler than average here into the northeast, but look at this warm air building from out west. That's that big mega ridge that will be forming. And precipitation-wise, through Thanksgiving, look at this. Yeah, we're above average here in the east for sure. About 33, 40, 50% above average during this time period. A little bit drier here into the parts of the plains and more wet here into parts of the Pacific Northwest. And here we go. We get after Thanksgiving. We're still remaining above average as far as precipitation into parts of the east. And a lot of this could be frozen, especially in the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. And look at this. We have some beneficial rains out here into parts of the Pacific Northwest. Some mountain snow as well as we get after Thanksgiving. All right, so let's take a look at our temperature trends here. Yeah, this is Wednesday. There'll be some warmer air pulling up behind this system initially, so we'll make it to 40 in a lot of areas in upstate New York, Pennsylvania, as that snow changes to plain rain near the 50 along the coast. But look what's coming here. This big old blast of cold air from the upper Midwest. This is reinforcing. This is going to be heading your way for the Northeast for the weekend. Look at that. Another day in the upper 30s here across interior parts of the Northeast. But you can see this 30-degree line. It is sinking here ever so slightly to the south for Friday. TGIF there. Look at this. This blast heads to the east. Look at that 32-degree line getting into parts of most of Pennsylvania, upstate New York. Look at that. And we start to form Saturday, another reinforcing shot. Look at these teens. Temperatures won't even make it to 20 here into the parts of the upper Midwest. And as we get into your Sunday, look at that. That's not too bad here. I mean, it could be a lot worse, but, we're just thinking back to how it was 70 degrees just a week or two ago across much of the Northeast. Look at this. This is crazy to think, but look at that. Most areas in the 30s. And near 40 degrees. And as we head into next week, look at this. Monday, we do see a warming trend on the backside of this high pressure system. But look what's forming behind it. That's gonna funnel in behind it. We will have an initial warm shot here just before Thanksgiving, but that'll be a fading memory after Thanksgiving. Extended outlook from hometown viewers. Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley of upstate New York, northeast Pennsylvania. Look at this. Wednesday through Sunday. Yeah, it's Wednesday. We'll have rain, this freezing precipitation, rain, snow will all change to rain, by 3, 4 a.m. So quarter inch of rain, all that will be melting. 47. Thursday, we get the next front moving through. So we'll get some lake effect later in the day, but we'll see a burst of some rain and snow showers scattered about, and then potentially lake effect snow bands later in the day, turning very blustery and windy. And look at that, Friday into Saturday, sunnier but much colder for the weekend. Thank you for joining me, everyone, for this edition of Weather Eastern. Guess what? A winter outlook link in the description down below. You'll also see it pop up on the screen here. Go ahead and watch my winter weather outlook for this winter. If you haven't already, find out how much snow we're going to get. Don't forget to head over to Facebook, like me on MediaMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern. Also, you can visit me at Twitter at Weather Eastern. MediaMark.com, WeatherNortheastern.com.